What's going on, fam? Eagles Talk A2D Radio. And as always, we are brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, meatballs, and awesome just breads for cheesesteaks. I'm telling you, awesome stuff. So Baggio's Bread, make sure you mention A2D Radio, and you get 10% off your in-store purchase. We are live. It's your boy Chucks, Brinks, PY, and as always, going to be joined by Les Bowen in a few minutes. Gentlemen, how's it going? How was your week?
It was good.
Going all right.
Ready to talk some receivers, ready to talk some birds. And then before you know it, we'll have some training camp stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
God bless.
Hopefully the next 2 months goes by. It was after last week's show, we had we as always, as with all of our shows, we put up clips, right? And we definitely had a few comments regarding us ranking Hurts over McNabb. A lot of people on Facebook.
How dare you?
Isn't that so hilarious? That's so hilarious though, because when McNabb played here, now I was maybe fifth to maybe like freshman year of high school, sophomore year of high school, where McNabb was really cooking and in his prime and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Dude, I'd be the only one at the lunch table in school saying, yo, he's good. Everyone, no, he throws the ball in the dirt. He does this. He does that.
He does. He did do all of those things, though.
Yeah, but they all do. They all do. Doug Minkiewicz told me
McNabb did it a little bit more than most.
Not really. Donovan McNabb never turned the ball over. Never.
Yeah, he didn't turn the ball over a lot.
He did not turn the ball over.
Look at his interceptions. He didn't really turn the ball over a lot.
He didn't throw pick, and he was so big and strong that he for the most part hung on to the football when he got sacked.
Yeah, that is something in his notch. So
but one last thing on that, Doug Minkiewicz told me last season when I was bitching about the Phillies and something stupid. He's like, well, the San Francisco Giants, they do all the same stuff that you do. The Phillies are doing. Why aren't you on here bitching and moaning about them? I said, because I don't care about the San Francisco Giants. And he said, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't understand what that has to do with anything, but all right.
Well, I mean, I think it's also
because you hold your own. You hold your own to a higher standard. Is the point?
And it goes to another point that a lot of people, if I remember this, that there was a lot of negativity around McNabb during his playing time here. Like,
yes.
He wasn't really a fan favorite. So
from the second he got drafted to the second he retired,
he was very critical. So like the noise and all the disrespect to McNabb, I kind of find it really funny because it's not like he was so beloved here when he was playing, but all of a sudden he's retired and now like you can't say a bad word about him. I don't know, but it's funny, and I'm sure we're gonna have some more of that. What's the word I'm looking for? Pushback. Yeah, not death threats. I didn't really get death threats, but we'll have a lot of pushback and disagreement over our list that we'll have today. But it should be a fun one. It should be a really fun one. So before Les Bowen gets with us in a few minutes, let's get right to the poll question, and it is: Jeremy Maclin is the most underrated Eagles wide receiver. Agree or disagree? All right. So PY, let's start with you. What do you think about it? Since now this is for the poll question specifically? All right. You can include, because I know with our list that we're gonna make, we put it since 2000. But for the poll question, you can make it like even before that. So Eagles all time. Do you think he's the most underrated Eagles wide receiver of all time? And two, don't spoil where you rank him. So wherever you have him ranked, if you haven't ranked, I hope you haven't ranked. Don't say it yet, but just answer the poll as direct as possible without giving any spoilers just yet. So, PY, what do you think?
Yes, 100%. Like, we don't talk about Maclin the way we talk about the other like great 2000s Eagles wide receiver. He doesn't get the love that T.O. gets. We don't talk about him like as an electrifying guy like we talk about Deshaun, Alshon Jeffrey, like like guys like that. Like Jeremy Maclin just did everything. Like he did the dirty work. He put in the work. Like he just doesn't get the love just because at the time when he was playing, it's either he was hurt or when he was playing, they just weren't good. Like a good portion of his chunk came from that like 09-012 team where they were just garbage. And when you were expecting him to like blow up in 2013, he got hurt. But his final year in Philadelphia, he was fantastic. And everyone expected, oh, this is going to be he's going to be a focus of this offense moving forward. And Big Red doing what Big Red did, they swooped in and stole him illegally. Like I love Maclin. Like there's no issues with Maclin. Like all he wanted to do was play football. Nothing else. Like none of the drama, none of the nonsense, none of the issues, none of the problems. Just throw me the ball and watch me do what I do. Like that, and that's what I always enjoyed most about Jeremy Maclin is just because Jeremy Maclin is a guy that you could just root for. Like an enjoyable guy on and off the football field. And that's not throwing shade at any other like Eagles wide receiver, but like I knew what I was getting in Jeremy Maclin every game because he was giving me 150%. Even if he was hurt, Jeremy Maclin was doing everything he possibly could to put that ball in the end zone. Like as an Eagle, he had 36 touchdowns all time. Like I love Maclin. Like I think he just doesn't get the respect he deserves. We literally did a show where Jeremy Maclin DM'd us and thanked us for the freaking support. I still remember that. Like that was one of like the coolest things ever. Especially a guy that you follow and you watch and you enjoy, and he respected like what we had to say about him. Like, but how can you say anything negative about Jeremy Maclin?
Yeah, Briggs, what do you think?
I disagree to the poll question. I think Jeremy Maclin is properly rated amongst Eagles Nation. I think the most underrated receiver, and my man Brad Ryer, he's in the chat, my co-host on the Final Whistle. I think he's got the nail on the head. They had a guy in the 90s named Arkansas Fred Barnett. He was really good. He was really underrated. And I think that if he played in an era like today, where there was much more emphasis on the passing game as opposed to defense and running the ball and being physical, I think Arkansas Fred Barnett would have been something else. I think his stats would have been absolutely through the roof. There's other guy. I mean, Harold Carmichael, he was really big and strong. He's probably another guy that was ahead of his time. But I think any like mid 80s to like kind of right up to, where we're going to talk about with our ranking list, the Eagles had a couple guys in there that were really, really, really talented. But between the offensive coaching and the style of play in the NFL at that time, they kind of get overlooked. Not really their fault, wasn't their talent's fault, but their stats aren't where they would be if they had played in a better coached offensive scheme and different things like that. But I mean, Maclin, no one has anything bad to say about Maclin. Like no one hates on Jeremy Maclin, but he's properly rated. I guess we'll see where everyone has him in our little rankings draft here in a few minutes.
Yeah. So I like the Fred Barnett mention. That's another good one. So like it's I think that mentioning him if you're going to the 90s, that's another guy that was definitely underrated. We had played in a different era, probably going to be like a monster, like you said. I don't disagree with that. I know that Dynasty over. So here he disagrees. He says because he still gets love. So for me, it's either Jordan Matthews or Jason Avant. Jason Avant is someone. Yeah, I'd say he get another mention to me. Jason
Odell
Avant.
before Odell.
I'm not sure Jordan Matthews so much, but yeah. John Malma says, "What's up, boys? 6 weeks in the hospital, but blessed to see you. I hope you're doing well, John. Hope you're feeling better.
And hope you got a hot nurse."
Yeah. And Tone Roberts says, "Longtime fans don't neglect Maclin. I don't either. Everybody, you said after Jeremy did his thing, he was important for the Eagles." And then Dominic also shouts out Avant. He caught everything. Yeah, like arguably one of the best hands out of any Eagles wide receiver that we've had. So 100%. So keep the comments rolling. I'm going to ask a poll question. I'm going to absolutely agree to the poll.
No shock.
And we'll see in my rankings why, a big argument why, but I won't allude to it yet. But I think he is absolutely underrated. I think that you look at a guy, and if you want a testament to why he was so underrated, because you talk about a true number one wide receiver, like a wide receiver who could be legit a top wide receiver for a team, and he was that. He was that for the Chiefs when he left. He was their wide receiver one. So, like, we talk about him like he's always been second fiddle, right? He's like like he's wide receiver 2 and everything like that. But I think that in reality, he is truly a number one wide receiver that was just never got the spotlight. Like everyone, when you think about Eagles wide receivers, right, in the past 25 years, everyone always mentions other guys first. And I think that Maclin does get kind of overlooked. The spotlight always goes to, and maybe some of it is because Maclin's not like a spotlight guy. You know what I mean? Like he never did like media stuff, and he's not
the
like
team first guy.
Yeah. So like not just team first, not about that, because you can be like
he was more quiet.
He was quiet, right? Like he didn't really ask for the spotlight or really beg for the spotlight,
like a baby-faced assassin.
So like that might have been part of it why he doesn't get really mentioned. But he doesn't get mentioned with some of the top names. But if you look at his talent and his numbers when he was at his peak, he absolutely should. So I'm going to agree to the poll. I think he, in my opinion, based on what, like I said, Fred Barnett is another really, really good name that I can't really argue against. But for me, my tip of the cap, from what I've been watching since 2000, my tip of the cap is going to go to Jeremy Maclin. All right?
What did Chip let him walk? Over $1 million, right? Maclin walked to Kansas City.
It wasn't that much, but Maclin also wanted to go home. Like he was from Tampa. He wanted to go to his hometown, and then plus the money was part of it. So it's like it was really hard to get mad at him for it. But yeah, like it was I was really upset to see him go. That was
I was mad at Chip for letting him leave because he was an idiot.
I was upset. I was very, very upset. So I'm sure this next guy probably has a lot to add to the conversation when it comes to Maclin. So, Mr. Les Bowen. Les, how are you today?
Great, guys. How are you?
Good. I see the laptop's working this time now.
Well, I rummaged around in a cabinet. When you've been doing this kind of stuff as long as I have, you forget. I had an external camera in a cabinet from when I used to do videos for Philly.com. And it works on my laptop. So my laptop camera is still messed up, but this is actually a much better camera. So
oh, good. Nice.
You can see my kitchen in fine detail, I think.
Nice. So our poll question before we start with our rankings, which I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to. We're talking about Jeremy Maclin.
Yep.
Is he the most underrated Eagles wide receiver? What do you think?
Oh, the most underrated.
I said yes, and PY said yes.
Well, ever is a tough one because I don't know. Was Ben Hawkins underrated? I don't know. During the time I covered the Eagles, probably, yeah. I'll limit it to that. Fred Barnett, you mentioned, that's a very good name as well. J-Mac, couple problems J-Mac had. One was he came up at a really inopportune time, the end of the Andy Reid era, and then the beginning of the Chip Kelly era. That was his Eagles career. And he missed the really good year of Chip, the 2013 year. He missed with a knee injury, suffered on the first day of training camp. He tore his ACL. And toward the end of his career, he was dealing with a problem, and we didn't know what it was, and there was a lot of mystery. And he went and played in Kansas City for a couple years, but he had sickle cell anemia. And this was going on while he was still an Eagle, and it definitely curtailed his career, I think. But yeah, the guy had a 1,300-yard season as an Eagles receiver. You know, and unfortunately, it was a year when the Eagles didn't go to the playoffs. In fact, I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was only in the playoffs twice, and they were both wild card losses. So, you know, you get a reputation through what you do and how people remember teams and stuff like that. And nobody has any great memories of the teams that Jeremy Maclin played on. I can promise you that. Maybe the 2010 team.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that would be about it.
Yeah. So that's a very good point, too, is that, like, there were most of the time it were bad teams. So, like, you know, you're not going to remember. He doesn't have as many moments that you can really, you know, cling to. So, yeah, I definitely hear you on that. And it's like the same. It's kind of like you could have been able to say the same thing about Deshaun, but Deshaun was here during that 2018. So, like, that 2018 that went to the NFC. Yeah. So, you know, with that, like, Deshaun made his mark with that. So, I mean, but
and Deshaun with the punt return, the walk-off punt return, and things like that, you know, there were more moments with Deshaun than with J-Mac. But J-Mac, he was, I mean, he lived in Deptford and did a lot with, like, youth sports there and stuff. I was really sad to see him leave the area just because I thought he was a tremendous resource.
Yeah.
I don't know that he really wanted to. He was happy that it was Kansas City that signed him, but I went to see him. He did an autograph appearance at the King of Prussia Mall that year, right before free agency. And unless he was lying to me, he was still hoping the Eagles would re-sign him. But it didn't happen. You know, so yeah, one of those things. But he only had like one more good year left in him after he left here, I think. So.
I didn't know about the sickle cell anemia. Like, that's crazy. I didn't.
That was crazy. It was everything was going
worse
around.
than that. You know, something cancer or, you know, some kind of horrible. I mean, sickle cell's bad enough, but you know, it wasn't. He's living a normal life right now, as far as I know.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. It's good information. Awesome. All right, so I'm sure we'll get into more Jeremy Maclin discussion and talk. Because I'm sure I would be very shocked if he's not in any of our rankings. So that would be a very big shocker. But top 10 wide receivers since the year 2000. We're going to go about this the same way. And in the chat, if you're listening in, definitely give your thoughts. Let us know feedback. Give us questions. Your list if you want to come up with it. But yeah, we're going to do the same thing as we did last week. We're going to go through it. We'll have Les start at his 10. And then we'll mention if any of us have his 10 and where we rank that player, and then we'll go to the next person. We'll go around the horn. We'll go with PY. So if your person's not at 10, you name your 10. We'll say where we have them ranked, so on and so forth. So, and then we'll keep going up until we have all these guys ranked. So, let's pull up the infamous board.
All right, the grid. There I am.
A holy spreadsheet.
Yes.
The spreadsheet, yeah. Let me get rid of this thing because for now, so that there you go. All right, Les. So number 10, were you able to get 10 down, Les?
I was. My top 6, I felt really good about, and I felt good about the order of my top 6. After that, you're really kind of looking at a guy that had a year.
Dumpster diving, Les.
It's really, and it could be. Those last 3 slots, I mean, there are other people that you could, well, really the last 4 shots, 7, 8, 9, and 10, you could argue for other people who had good years, you know, during this time. Spoiler alert, Greg Ward is not in my top 10, although he did lead the
blasphemy.
1 year, he led the team in receiving that horrible 2020 season.
Oh my God! Yes. Greg Ward.
But no, my number 10 is the immortal Kevin Curtis.
Kevin Curtis, okay.
And I can justify that. The man had a 221-yard receiving game against the Lions.
Yes, he did.
He was a guy. If you put his whole career together, he was a pretty good player. He only had a couple years with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I think one thing people will hold against him is that. Catch he didn't make against the Cardinals in the NFC Championship game when Rod Hood tripped him.
I was going to ask you, do you think that was DPI?
It absolutely was DPI. And I think Rod Hood admitted eventually that it was DPI, but they didn't call it. So, what are you going to do?
Heartbreaking.
Hood was one of my favorite guys, by the way, and I'll get off of this real quickly, but he was one of those guys, that undrafted guys. Remember a few weeks ago, we were talking about 2003, the year where they drafted a bunch of bad players and then signed a bunch of undrafted free agents who were actually good. Rod Hood was one of those guys. But by 2008, he was with the Cardinals, ending the Eagles season. Anyway, Kevin Curtis. Number 9 would be Nelly, unlike Aguilar.
Nelson. Wait, P.Y., did you have Kevin Curtis?
I did not.
You did not. Okay, Brinks, did you have Kevin Curtis?
I have Kevin Curtis, number 6.
All right.
Wow.
Number 6.
Wow.
That's high, frankly.
That's really
I don't have Nelson Aguilar
maybe.
either, by the way.
Wow. Okay. So so Brinks, what is it about Kevin Curtis that makes you have him this high?
He was good. I mean, look at what we're doing here and outside the top. I think it's outside the top 5, where you're getting guys who had brief stints here. Maybe they had 1 or 2 good seasons. I mean, Les mentioned the 200-yard game against the Detroit Lions. If you remember that, they were in that ugly, whatever it was, yellow and blue.
Yes, it'll never be worn again.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
He was a big part of that 08 run. That was a pretty.
Yeah.
That was a magical.
He was,
That was a magical year. I mean,
I think I have a much better number 6 than Kevin Curtis, but
I do too.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I would be shocked if my 10 aren't your guys' 10 order, notwithstanding. But that was a very magical season. Remember, that was the 44-6 season.
Yeah.
They beat Dallas 44-6.
Yeah.
So Rob, you have Nelly in your 10 then.
I do. Yes.
Yeah. I think you gotta have him in there. Yeah.
Number 9, just like you.
Yeah.
You have number 9.
Yeah,
okay. So
I do.
Brinks is 9, and then PY. Do you have Nelson?
I don't. Do
What?
you?
Oh my God! I'm already gonna. Yes, I have him at 8.
8.
Well, it's not that far. It's 1 off of them. So I mean, you don't have him ranked. Okay. All right. So we have Nelson Aguilar. Okay. So as someone who was an Aguilar fan, I'll start off by saying I think he gets a bad rep because of he never lived up to be what his draft stock was, right? So in that aspect, he was and
he dropped a lot of balls.
He dropped a lot of balls. So like it was tough, right?
But he didn't always drop balls. Only certain years did he drop balls.
Exactly. So out of 2017, it was always like a really, really bad look on him, optic wise and all that. But if you're looking at 2017, you can make an argument Nelson Aguilar was like a top 3 to 5 slot receiver in the NFL. He was clutch. He was reliable. In the Super Bowl, he led the team with the most receptions in that game. Yeah. So, like, if I know it's when you're getting the back half of this list, it's hard to pick one. But if I'm looking at Nelson Aguilar's just peak season too, like because you're nitpicking here, it's like that was an amazing season. To not have him in the top 10, I mean, PY, I'm gonna be judging your 10. You better have a argument.
This is since 2000 too.
Yeah, it's since 2000. So you're picking. So I'm eager to see.
I might bump Nelly in my top 10 now.
Why? No, stand strong.
Peer pressure. Okay. All right. So we have Kevin Curtis and Nelson Aguilar. So that's what we have ranked. PY, you don't have Kevin Curtis, you said?
I don't have Kevin Curtis.
Okay, I don't have him yet. He just
I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, he just missed it for me. Yeah. I think with Kevin Curtis, his peak season was in 2007, and that's where he had over 1,000 yards. But 2008, I believe he was hurt a lot, and then he had a decent playoffs. But like those 2 years, I think he was also one of those where he was the number 1 by default because we didn't really have much.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, but like he was right on the fringe of that. He was right on the fringe.
Djax was a rookie in 08, I think, against the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Yes.
but in 09, I think, there was a year in there where Djax missed some time. When the hell was that? I don't remember.
I have Djax up. So he missed time in for us 2012.
Yeah,
2012,
that was the year that he was pissed off. Was that 2011 or 2011, the year that he didn't want to be here because of his contract? Same thing as missing time.
Yeah. So
anyway.
Okay. So Les, who you got at 8 then?
Number 8 is Jordan Matthews.
There's Jordan. PY.
The Kyle Kendrick of the Eagles, I would say. Because I was just watching the Phillies game, and they had a trivia question about most wins at Citizen Bank Park, and everybody guessed all the big names, but right up there, like third or fourth on that list was Kyle Kendrick, and nobody got that. And Jordan Matthews is kind of the Kyle Kendrick of Eagles wide receivers since 2000. He caught a lot of balls here, whether you like him or not. Who knows? He's still running around trying to play tight end somewhere. He could be back again.
I couldn't believe that. He's still, he's still technically in the league.
The Panthers sign him every year for a little while.
He spent some time in San Fran too as like a tight end. Yeah, he was.
Caught a playoff touchdown for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brinks, where do you have Jordan Matthews?
Yes, number 7.
7. Okay.
And
then PY, where do you have Jordan Matthews at?
I have him at 8.
Okay. So we have him like we're all around the same range.
Yeah.
He falls into like
Chucks.
I have him at 9. So like I like.
Oh, I see.
Really
I'm
tough.
sorry.
Yeah. It's really tough. It's like flip flopping between him and Aguilar. I think I just chose Aguilar. I think because one, I can't get that 2017 season out of my head for Aguilar. That was a difference maker. It's like that season was awesome for Aguilar. Yeah. So that was like I can't overlook that. But it's really, to me, they're like that same tier. So it's like, you flip flop them and they're around the same type of area. But I agree. Like Jordan Matthews, again, I know when he was drafted, I had high expectations for him. He never really met them, but he was consistent.
Well, he had a great rookie year, but he was one of those guys that was as good as he was ever going to be as a rookie.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens. Reggie Brown would be another guy that, even more so than that. But Reggie's not in my top 10, spoiler alert. But
not mine. Not mine either.
Had the talent to be, certainly, but no.
PY, since Brinks and I don't have Reggie or Les, do you have Reggie Brown?
I don't.
No, okay, all right, cool. So we can move on from that. All right, so PY, who's your 10 then?
So I was struggling towards the end of my top 6. I feel really, really good about.
Yeah.
But I was already at 6, and because I'm a completionist, I'm like I went to throw 4 in there just so I felt good.
Yeah.
So I probably should have put Nelly at 10, but I had Riley Cooper at 10.
Riley Cooper at 10.
I had Riley Cooper at 10.
You're a closet Chip Kelly fanatic.
No, he played 5 years with the Eagles. He was solid up until that last year. I had him at 10.
I had him over Nelson Aguilar.
When was Riley Cooper solid?
Martian says
racist. Stop.
Riley Cooper. Let me look up his stats because I'm
like I would look past him if he was good at football. I would look past him being a racist. Honestly, you're
I'm not involved.
I don't care. Do it.
Not involved.
I won't touch that.
Football.
Wasn't in my top 15, frankly, but
I wouldn't. I mean, to your point, he did have.
Really good. In 2013, really good, though.
He had 835 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. So okay, I guess but again, that was the first Chip Kelly era.
400 career yards and 18 touchdowns. That's solid.
If you ignore certain other,
if you ignore.
Yes, it's only on football.
Mark says Riley Cooper was the reason we lost to the Packers.
He had a lot to do with it. Yeah.
I think Vic throwing a big time interception played a very big part.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that game. Remember Deshaun Jackson caught that drag route and he got tackled by his
toenail. Oh my God, shoestring!
And he was going to go right in and score, and they were going to go win the Super Bowl with Mike Vick.
Oh my God!
The winner of that game was winning the Super Bowl. It was Aaron Rodgers,
and he did,
and the Packers, and Michael Vick and the Eagles. And I was just looking at it at that time. That was 2010, I think it was.
Yes.
I'm just like, no one's beating either of these two teams, and they're playing on Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, I know. That was heartbreaking. Briggs, who do you have at your 10 so we can fill yours out?
Jason Avant.
Wow, you have him low.
At 10? Come on, that's way worse.
Wow, you have him low.
That is way worse.
PY, where do you have Avant? PY, where do you have Avant?
I have Avant at 7.
Okay. I have him at 7 as well. Les, where do you have it?
Well, I have him at 6, and I feel really strongly about that. If you look at his career as an Eagle,
the playmaker.
He was not an absurdly talented guy, but he
just outworked everybody.
He was a 4th-round pick in a bad draft for wide receivers, and he played every day and made some spectacular catches. He went over the middle. I thought he was one of the best values the Eagles have ever had, in terms of.
Couldn't believe it when I was putting the list together. I'm like, oh, Jason Avant, probably good amount of touchdowns. He only had 13 for the Eagles.
He wasn't a touchdown guy. He wasn't fast, and he wasn't
tough.
especially big, but he was a first down guy.
Yeah,
a lot of times on 3rd down. He was a great guy, a leader, a tough guy. I felt very strongly about him as 6.
Yeah, I love Avant, and I think at 7 I feel strongly about him too, like right in that range, because like it's just he's never going to be like that number 1. Obviously,
right.
He never put up like star numbers, but he was just, if you want like reliable possession receiver, Avant is on the short list of one of the most reliable.
If the current Eagles had an Avant as their slot receiver, they'd be unstoppable.
I can't even remember
Jahan Dotson. If you had Jason Avant in his prime, you'd have something. I think.
Yeah, I can't even.
You're not buying into Dotson this season.
I don't dislike Dotson. I just think Avant was really good in that role. He was a guy you could make your number 3 or number 4 receiver, and he would make every catch and not complain and not, he was always prepared. I'm not so much down on Dotson as I am saying Avant was really, really good in that sort of role.
100%. I can't even remember how many times the Eagles would convert on 3rd down, and it would be a reception. It would be a reception to Avant. Like it was like money. It was so.
It really was. Yes.
It was crazy. Greg says PY would have Riley on his top 10 list.
Leave me alone, all right? I was scratching my head. I needed a 10th guy. I couldn't think of anyone at the time.
Lord.
All right, my 10. So we'll fill this out. My number 10. I had Todd Pinkston at 10.
You can do that.
Yeah, I mean, like
I have him at 9. So
let's see. I had him at I was debating between him and like it was between him, Reggie Brown, and Kevin Curtis, and I was just like, I don't know. I guess I'll put Todd Pinkston. So it was really close. Who you have? You have him, PY. You have him at
I'm at 9.
9. Okay. And then Brinks, do you
have
one
guy at the bottom of the list for me, and he was only here for part of a season, so I couldn't justify it. But Dante Stallworth was a really
God, Les, I was going to mention him as my honorable mention. I
mean, he's better than anybody in my 8 through 10, God. But he was only here for part of a season, so
yes. Oh my God, I was a big Stallworth fan when he was with the Saints. When we signed him, I was so excited, and like I think he was hurt for a good chunk of that season.
Yeah, he was.
Season, right? But then
his numbers are negligible. I mean, you can't even make an argument for him. But just as a talent, he was.
Oh yeah. Because when he was on the field, he was so good. Like he was so good on the field as like that deep threat and everything like that. So Oh yeah, he was going to be my honorable mention. I love Dante Stump. I still have his jersey because I had bought his jersey. Yeah, I still have his.
Hey,
his
there
jersey.
are worse jerseys to have. I say as I have one behind me.
Yes.
Yeah. Brinks, who did you have? Did you say you had Pinkston or no?
Yeah, 8.
You have him at 8. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, he should probably. I mean, I couldn't get past the Gator arms to put him any higher than 8. But I mean, he was here for a while. He came in with McNabb pretty much. You know, him and
Here's
Chad
my
Lewis.
counter argument on that, though, Rob. He was drafted in the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted him. Everybody said Andy Reid didn't care about wide receivers, which is sort of true. But he thought he had drafted one right off the bat in the 2nd round who was going to be a number 1 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been a real good 5th or 6th round draft pick. You know,
Right?
14 touchdowns isn't crazy.
He did some good things. That one game was just horrendous, and he had the problem that came up in that game was the problem that limited his career. He was incredibly skinny. He had legs like matchsticks.
Yep.
One of the first times I was at Eagles camp, I asked a former Eagles player what he thought. He said, if I was covering that guy, I'd just knock him down off the line every time. Mm-hmm. And back then you could do a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Was it Ricky Manning Jr.?
No, it was an Eagle. Everybody knew. I mean, it was how you draft that guy in the 2nd round. I have no idea. But
I do wonder if
not his fault though, Les.
What's that?
That would be Joe Banner's fault.
Yeah.
Kingston's fault.
Yeah. Or Tom Modrak or somebody. But
I do wonder.
He went to Southern Mississippi. I mean, what
was there? Yeah.
We were allergic to SEC at the time, Les. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I do wonder if Kingston would have been better suited for this era of football because more open field. Like, I'm not saying like he was this awesome talent. I'm just saying like maybe he just in this era where you can be a little smaller. We've seen now several wide receivers.
He was tall. He just
he was tall.
No bulk to him at all.
Yeah, exactly. Les, who's your number 7?
My number 7 is a guy who was incredibly talented, but wasn't here for very long. Alshon Jeffrey.
Okay. Yep.
Solid.
Jeffrey.
Super Bowl counts for something there.
He's my 6th.
He didn't do much other than that, really. The next year he was okay, but he missed that ball in the Saints game, which I think is overemphasized by some fans. But he's a good player. A really
still
good
3rd
overall
and 5.
career.
Yes, even if he catches it, still 3rd and 5.
Yeah, I know. And they, they weren't that good, and Foles wasn't playing that well. But I think that's another guy that if you take his whole career, he's really, he was a hell of a player. So
yeah. Do you Briggs? Do you have him? I have him at 6.
I don't have him. It's an oversight, but I'll just roll with it.
Oh, okay. So you're making okay. Where would you put him if you were to?
I'd probably just put him at 6 and bump everyone down. Then Avant would be 9.
Okay, I'll make the team. That's fine.
Well, he didn't come up. I typed in the top 20 on ChatGPT, and I was going to do it from there, and he didn't come up. So,
what I did is I went through the year just to make sure, because there were guys that I, even having covered the teams, there were guys that, and so I went year by year stats, which is how I knew that in 2020 Greg Ward led the team.
Underestimating Greg Ward's contributions. Next.
Nothing against Greg Ward. I mean, undrafted former college quarterback, but dear God.
Yeah. All right, top 5. This is where it's going to get juicy, I guess, because I think we all had Alshon Jeffrey, around that area. Before I get to some comments, Martin says my money on Josh Huff being in PY. And then Martin also says, yes, PY, there are worse jerseys to have, like Riley Cooper's.
No, I have a Johnny Manziel jersey, okay? It doesn't get worse than Johnny Manziel.
It does. Riley Cooper.
Oh, no.
All right, Les, who's your number 5?
Well, number 5 is going to make Chuck's happy. That's that Jeremy Maclin.
Mm-hmm. PY, where do you have Maclin? Or yeah,
I have Maclin at 4.
Okay.
Which is essentially going to make you very happy.
Brinks, where do you have Maclin?
5.
Okay, and then I have him at 4. Now here, let's do this. Les, where do you have Deshaun?
I have Deshaun as 3.
That's 3. Okay. Deshaun, I want to see something. PY, where do you have Deshaun?
I have at 5.
5. Briggs, where do you have Deshaun?
3.
At 3. Interesting.
We're pretty lockstep here.
Yeah, you're pretty lockstep. I have Deshaun at 5. Okay. And then
Me and Chuck, we're right on each other's level right now.
Les, where do you have at 4?
Terrell Owens.
Whoa! Okay.
Oh my God! Les with the wild card.
We'll come back to that.
He had 1 year here. You know, I mean,
no, he didn't. He had 2 years, Les.
Not really.
1.5. 1.5, I guess.
So,
all right. So let's say the TM.
Great
That's
player.
Why are you guys? I think that's low.
So for what? Who?
You think he should be higher? You mean?
Wait, who are you talking about, Brinks? Or is he frozen?
Terrell Owens. Am I frozen?
Yeah.
No, you're good. Okay, you're good.
Okay.
No, we'll get to TO in a bit. Hold on. That's a whole other discussion. Hold on. So PY and I are in lockstep. Brinks and Les are in lockstep. Let me make my argument. Okay, because a lot of people, this is very divisive. I don't know. Whenever I make this statement, people think I'm crazy, or like people think like they look at me weird. I've always, since day one, believed Jeremy Maclin was a better receiver than Deshaun Jackson. I think that Jeremy Maclin, his skill set was better overall, and I think that Jeremy Maclin has shown in the 2 years where he was at his peak, the 2014 season with the Eagles, where he racked up close to
1,338
yards, 10 touchdowns, and then that next season with the Chiefs, where he was their number one again, he racked up over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. With Deshaun Jackson, I think a lot of the conversation with Deshaun Jackson, or a lot of the attention Deshaun Jackson gets, is because he's arguably the best. He's at worst, he's top 2 deep threats in the entire NFL history.
He's a go-route guy. So that's what he is.
What he does at an elite or generational level as a deep threat is one of the best we've ever seen, 100%. And people are always going to remember that. But I feel like Maclin just did everything as a wide receiver much better than Deshaun Jackson ever did. And I think that there were games where teams took Deshaun Jackson out of the game by simply playing press man. If you remember,
super physical with him.
The 2013-14 playoff game against the Saints, Deshaun Jackson was near non-existent because I forget the corner he was facing at the time, but that's all they did was they took him out of the game that way. You get a good press man corner to play him, and he's non-existent. You can take him out of the game that way, and that's a big reason why they often struggled. With Maclin, it's not so much. That wasn't so much the case. Maclin could beat press man. He could be a bunch of different coverages, and Maclin wasn't even a bad deep threat either. He was a good deep threat as well. So I maybe it's the X's and O's in me kind of guy, and when looking at player evaluation or what I prefer in a wide receiver, I've always just thought Maclin was a better receiver. He just didn't get the spotlight, like I alluded to earlier in the show. He didn't get the spotlight that Deshaun Jackson did. So So
I don't think you're crazy, but I still think Deshaun, as a huge figure in that era in the league, and part of that was his punt returns, which isn't fair when you're ranking wide receivers. But Deshaun was a more electric talent to me. But 4 or 5, that's what we're talking. 3 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making either one of them my best ever.
Pete.
I thought you were going to yell at me about T.O. When do we get to that?
We'll get to Pete says, what happens when Crazy enters the show? How in the heck does Riley Cooper make this list? Oh my God.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Macklin and Deshaun are just like they're right there, like the same tier. I just think I always push for Macklin because people give you the side eye. They always assume like Deshaun is better, but I think they were very, very even. Like I think it's like I personally cannot mention Deshaun without also mentioning Macklin. And yeah. So that's me. I don't know if Brinks or PY you have any additional thoughts.
No, I agree with Les. I'm gonna take the game breaker, the electrifying.
Give me the all around guy. Like Macklin is a better Eagle than Jackson, but Jackson is he's just a better player. Like he's like his career, he's a Hall of Fame trajectory.
You mean the opposite way? Are you talking about the opposite? Do you mean Deshaun was a better Eagle and then Macklin was a better player?
No, I think Macklin is a better Eagle than Deshaun was. Deshaun's whole career is better than Macklin's.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I agree with that, but okay. All right.
I mean, Deshaun did some things outside of.
He did, yeah. He didn't have a great quarterback outside of Philadelphia either.
He didn't. No,
he went to Washington.
Yeah.
And Tampa.
Yep.
And then he went back here.
He had Stafford.
I remember him.
And then
I don't know if he ever played for the Ravens, but I remember him trying out maybe for the Ravens.
No, he played for them.
He played for that was his final year, but it was only one game. I have it. One start. It was one start. He was on the roster for 7 games.
He was close to 40 when he did that. I think
something like that. Yeah, he was old. He was getting up there. But yeah, after his second
all the guys in practice said they were torching. He's torching everyone still.
Yeah,
38.
You know what I loved about that is something that Deshaun has over Macklin is that like Macklin could return punts too, but Deshaun was just an all-time punt returner. And what I loved about Deshaun was what made him unique from like a talent standpoint or like his skill set. For a short guy, unless I'm pretty sure you've seen it in person, his stride length is so long, and that's how
galloping horse.
That's how he's able to get on top of people.
And he was a tiny guy. I remember distinctly at the combine, his draft year, where they announced Deshaun Jackson 168 pounds, and people were like, because this was a different era in the NFL. Again, this was 2008, and 168 pounds was considered
very accurate. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, yeah, you gotta love that era. Again, we talked about last week how like that era, that core of Eagles wide receivers sometimes gets overstated, but from like a fan perspective, like I loved having Deshaun and Macklin. Like they were such a good duo, and it just sucks that we didn't have better teams.
Yeah, I agree.
That was such. They were an electric duo. Like those two are,
But the duo we have now is better, though.
It's much better.
Better. So let's get to it. So
I think you know who my top two are going to be.
Yeah, you have T.O. at 4.
I do.
Let's get into that conversation. PY,
how are you going to rank a guy who basically had one season as an Eagle above the people that I have above him? I don't see it.
Okay.
Talent-wise, sure. He's the most talented, other than perhaps A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is in the same neighborhood as T.O. talent-wise.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Same neighborhood.
T.O. is like a top 3 all-time wide receiver. Like,
no,
we'll see.
Absolutely not. Terrell Owens
A.J. Brown also hasn't finished his career yet. So.
No, he sure
hasn't. Like AJ's phenomenal, but like is he in T.O.'s stratosphere? Like that's like a legit.
Well, a lot of people in Philadelphia only think of that one season. I mean, T.O. had a whole career. Some of the years were wonderful. Some of them were, I don't know. He's a great, great player. He had one good year here. I can't. Considering the people that the Eagles have, I have Devontae Smith at number 2, and I have A.J. Brown as number 1. And I feel pretty strongly about that, and others differ.
A.J. Brown 1, Devontae at 2. See, I don't mind that. Yeah, I don't. PY, where did you have T.O.?
I haven't won. I'm crazy. I understand, but like what he was
He
able
would be
to
great
do,
on talk radio because that's all they do is come up.
I understand that, but like what he was able to do here in the tiny time he was here, 20 touchdowns in 21 games.
Yeah,
like that's ridiculous. AJ Brown has 25 touchdowns in 47 games.
Quite a different offense and quite a different team than the T.O. era.
Yeah. Briggs, where do you have T.O.?
2.
You have 2. So me and you agree on T.O. being at 2. I think.
Yeah, I mean, any guy that's going to go out there on one leg and just dominate a Super Bowl.
That's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah. While your quarterback's yakking up his guts on the
while
on the
forcing
field.
your doctor to make him do it.
Yeah.
Signed a waiver.
Sign a waiver.
So.
Hey, here's 8 catches on one leg for $135
against the Bill Belichick defense.
T.O. at 1 and Riley Cooper at 10 is on brand for PY. So like PY, the reason why I can't. Okay, so let me make.
I don't have any issue with that if you think it's wrong.
The reason why I would have him at 2, right, is because he is respectfully. I tried to factor in everything. So like I tried to factor in longevity with the Eagles, which goes against him because he only played here for 1.5 seasons, if at all, right? And his divorce was really bad. I tried to factor in talent. I tried to factor in just the era that you played and stats and all that. So I tried to factor in everything. T.O. is an all-time great in terms of talent, and the 1 year he had with us was so impactful, even if he didn't play in the playoffs. Like, it was so impactful, especially in the Super Bowl. So I can't put him lower at 2 for me, just because of that talent and impact for that one season. But I'm not going to put him over AJ Brown because I think I do think if I were to stack them linearly like all-time great receivers, I guess T.O. would be better. Like I would say T.O. was the better talent than AJ Brown. But against your point, PY, I don't think it's that far off. Like he is in the same stratosphere.
AJ could have 5 more good years in him, Yeah, and I'm not sure it would look that way.
And you have to keep in mind that, at least for me, personality goes into this. Like T.O. was a team cancer everywhere he went. That goes against you.
Now we're getting to why I have him at 4.
4. You're like,
I blame him. I don't, and Joe Banner and I are not friends. You might have noticed. That's good to know. I blame T.O. and I don't blame Donovan. I don't blame Joe Banner. I blame T.O. I think he blew that up. I think he's one of the most selfish people I ever met in my life. Football was not the right sport for him. He wanted to be an NBA player. He had a regulation gym at his house in Georgia that I was in one time. He played, if you remember, he played in that, whatever that league was they had then back in the summer up in the Poconos. Yeah. He thought he was a great basketball player. And that's what he should have been, because he was not in the ultimate team sport. He implied that Jeff Garcia was gay.
Yeah.
Everywhere
he went, he caused a problem. And
remember when he cried for Tony Romo?
It was
my quarterback.
That was great.
He couldn't be happy. I mean, there was really something seriously wrong with the guy. He could not be happy. And I can't get past that. Dominant athlete, physical specimen like nobody else you've ever seen, but really problematic person to me.
I hear you, Les. And that PY is a TO truther, so like I've argued with him about this to no end, and PY will defend TO through with that drama all the time. So that no surprise, but I can't like it's
okay.
I think with TO, like you have a guy who's so talented, and even though like I don't agree with leaving the voters leaving him off as many times as they did for the Hall of Fame.
Disgusting.
There's a reason why they did it.
It
Like,
can tell you something, though. I mean, I
but
agree
you know
with
what? If that's the case, like I'll say this is the only thing I'll say on this. It's like if you want to leave him off for character stuff, that's okay. But you're gonna put Randy Moss in first, who's a way worse person than T.O.
I don't know.
Who's had
I don't know
way
about
more
that.
controversies.
I don't know about
Is
that.
he? I didn't know that.
Why did he fall so high when he was being drafted? Like,
well,
like
he's
there
not
was-
a. He's
Well,
not a.
T.O. was
I'm not-
drafted in the 4th round
worse.
out of Tennessee, Chattanooga. So I just
You're
to me,
correct. I mean, you're correct. T.O. never got like arrested that I can recall.
No.
There was nothing.
And Randy Moss, he got cuffed up a couple times.
Yes.
And he did some
Let's
stuff.
call a spade a spade. Like if T.O. should be held out of the hall for a year or two because of like attitude issues and stuff like that, then how the hell do you vote Randy Moss in first?
Well, I wouldn't say when you talk about T.O., I wouldn't say you're talking about character in terms of off the field. I would say you're talking about what I said again, ultimate team sport. Guy who was not a team player in any sense whatsoever.
Moss was never a team guy. He was never a team person.
I don't know. I don't know him at all. It was funny that the Patriots couldn't win with him. I thought that was funny, but I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research.
I mean, that's a fluke though that they didn't win that Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
sure.
Oh,
it was great to cover, though. It was so much fun.
Show
We're
Eli some
talking about
respect.
when the Patriots didn't go undefeated, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's what we're talking about here, right? The
Yes.
biggest fluke of
Helmet catch.
the Giants won. Like they won. They get the trophy. That's how it works. But if they played that game 10,000 times, that's the only one the Giants win.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. All you need is one, baby.
Yeah.
That 2017 game. You know what? Maybe Eagles win that game 1 out of 10,000 times. Guess what? If it's that one time, it's all that freaking matters, baby.
That's a good point, Eli.
That's fine, as long as we
The 2017 Eagles were loaded.
Yeah.
Loaded.
Yeah, but
they created
they were using their backup
situation.
quarterback.
Yeah, I know they were playing the deck short because Carson got hurt, but that was a very, very
plays to that level
top to bottom
1 out of 10,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't know about 1 out of 10,000. You're being, what is
Maybe
it with
outdoing Tom Brady? Come on, bro.
How about
Always
10?
go like
How
to
about if we
some
do this?
degree to make it
Yeah,
work.
1 out of
But
10.
and 2017 was not a vintage Patriots team, in my opinion.
No, it sure wasn't. Their defense was horrible.
Their defense was terrible. They didn't even play their best corner.
When you bench your best corner, that'll happen.
And people there are still talking about that. That's to them, that's like Donovan throwing up.
That's because didn't a story just come out in the last year or so where they were finally talking about it because of the documentary.
But they still haven't really solved it. I mean, it's still just people talking. There's no definitive answer on Malcolm Butler. But one thing I wanted to say about our top 10s, we did limit this to wide receivers.
Yes.
If you were talking about receivers of this century, I would have probably 3 tight ends in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would have Brian Westbrook in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be those bottom spots.
Yeah, that's your bottom 5, bottom 4.
Yeah.
The bottom 4 spots right there.
You could
Ertz, Goddard, and Selleck, and and B West.
B West, yeah. So
and probably Chad Lewis would be my number 11.
Love Chad. But good list. Well, except for PY's as always.
Come on, it's one guy. It's one guy. Leave me alone. It's so mean to me. One guy. Good yards and 18 touchdowns. Come on.
I think we didn't really touch on AJ Brown and Devontae, but with them being current Eagles, I think we all kind of know there's nothing we need to really say too much about them. We know how we all feel. Eagles fan basically feels about both of them. Les, you touched it already. The best duo we've had true
ever.
True number ones, like true
The
number
best
one
duo in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd agree. So yeah, it's not much to say about them. They're all world, love them. And so,
Devontae is underrated because he plays with AJ, you know.
So underrated. So underrated.
The only wide receiver to win a Heisman, a national championship, and a Super Bowl. He goes on to a list of only a few other players in the NFL have done that.
Yeah, it gets not as much because Devontae Smith is on another tier from Jeremy Maclin. I will admit that. I think it's Devontae Smith gets overlooked again. It's the same thing where he sometimes gets underrated because people already always assume, oh, AJ Brown's the one. Devontae is just a really good number two. No, like whenever Devontae Smith has been asked to be the number one, right, with AJ Brown not there, Devontae has stepped up and
Yeah.
So there's no doubt in my mind Devontae Smith could be a number one on a lot of teams in the league.
He just doesn't have to be. We saw he could be a number one. He was our number one receiver in 21. Like you could rely on him. Like when AJ goes down, AJ is not doing what he having his best game. Devontae Smith always steps up, whether it's in regular season, whether it's in the playoffs, whether it's in the freaking Super Bowl. Yeah. His whole football career, whether it's in college or the pros, is big moments and big spotlights.
And I don't agree with them, but there are people who look at AJ sometimes, he says things every now and then or does something that ticks, Devontae, you never see anything like that.
Yeah.
No.
You've never seen any kind of hint that he's upset about the ball or anything. It's he's really, really special.
The worst he's ever complained about is the snow in that cold weather game.
Yeah.
Remember when he was mic'd up? That's the only thing you've heard about from him. When he comes to work it really is like I'll make this comparison again. It's like he's like a rich man's Jeremy Maclin because both of them similar play styles in terms of wide receivers and just they weren't divas. They just came and did the work and did their job and didn't say a word. So
I like that the Cowboys essentially helped us win a Super Bowl.
How so?
Because we made the trade. We made the trade. They got Micah. We got Devontae, and all I heard was, he's so tiny, that frame, it's not going to work out.
Yeah,
and
he's not really tiny. He's not Deshaun tiny. He's a more muscular guy.
I still remember watching the Cowboys game in 22 where they lose. My brother, we're watching it at Christmas with me, my dad, my brother, and my best friend. And my brother does not follow sports. He's that guy. He's the girl from Trainwreck where they're like sports ball and all that nonsense. He's like, who the hell is that guy? And it's Devontae just mussing people. He's like, he plays? I said, yes, he does.
He's so good. He's so good.
Glenn Reaper, baby.
That's the game where Miles Sanders ruined Christmas, right?
I think it would be Gardner Minshew that ruined Christmas.
No, it was Gardner. That was where Gardner Minshew had like all.
Yeah, he threw like 2 picks, bro.
Yeah, wasn't it?
He had a fumble, 2 picks and a fumble, I believe.
I can't wait. Are we doing running backs next week?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah. I can't wait to not rank that bum Miles Sanders.
God.
I mean, you'd be in the wrong. You'd be in the wrong.
I don't know.
Lord.
Like that's way worse than having Riley Cooper on there. I don't care. Like Miles Sanders deserves to be in that top 10 list.
You can do that with Riley Cooper. That I'm not ranking that idiot, that loser.
What are you talking? He was a Pro Bowl running back on the 2000s for the Eagles.
He's a stiff. He's a total stiff. That guy's a total
those who are listening, thank you so much for tuning in this week on Eagles Talk. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Baggio's Bread. Make sure you mention A2D for your 10% off your in-store purchase. Awesome job, guys. Loved our rankings. A lot of good conversation and reminiscing about the great wide receivers that we've had in the past 25 years. But awesome stuff. Next week, it looks like we are going to do running backs, and I'm dreading it because.
Do you just want to do the whole show yourself? Should we just take the week off?
Slam Miles, but then I also know I'm going to get really, really touchy with B West, so it should be very interesting.
Yeah, because you're wrong.
The list.
Because you're wrong.
For myself,
he's not.
for PY, and for Les. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next week. Make sure you tune in. Running backs next week. But until then, have a good weekend, guys. Peace out.